Welcome to Regulate This, a really unfiltered podcast.
Welcome to Regulate This with your host, Leila Shaver.
Hello.
And Tracie Bear. Today we're going to be talking about something that's fun. And yes, I do mean it's fun, even though we're talking about compliance. And some of you are now having your eyes glaze over and you're hearing dun dun dun, things like that. Trust me, we are not going to be the teacher on the Peanuts, Charlie Brown. I'm not going to be wah, 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 wah. Today we're going to talk about the art of the client experience. This is important for all of you. Take note of what is said here and try to implement a little bit each day. It's not taking the elephant down in all one chunk. Nobody could. We'd choke, we'd die. Instead, it's how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. That's the same way that you change things in your business. If you do everything in one fell swoop, you'll see how it turns out, and let me tell you, not always great. But if you're able to say, what can I do today? What can I change today? You're going to add value to your clients and to your team. And you also likely will not have the mutiny as you would if you just said, we're changing everything. So with that, Leila, let's talk a little bit about the client experience.
Yes, so today we want to talk about tips we can give you to really wow your clients, especially like what we're going through now with these kind of volatile times, tough times, times in which a lot of clients of yours may be already impacted by some of the changes that have been happening in the economy, whether it's with someone who's a government employee who was laid off or someone who's facing rising cost of groceries. Like, right, we all went through Easter wondering how much am I gonna have to spend on eggs to die, right? So now's a really good time to make sure that you're wowing your clients. You wanna wow them every day, but tough times like these are really where you can shine. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I think first and foremost, Tracie, if we're going to impress anyone, we need to have a tracking system. So when I say tracking system, I'm talking about some sort of client relationship system, a CRM, that we can utilize to track what's happening with prospects and clients and kind of be able to set up different workflows or automations to get them the information they need in a timely fashion. Now, I know, Tracie, because you at one point were a consultant to me, that you have consulted with thousands of firms, including law firms, in your career. You're an attorney yourself. You've been an attorney for over 20 years. You've managed thousands of people. You've done sales. You've been an entrepreneur. You've owned multiple businesses. What are you seeing as the easy things that a firm can implement today to start wowing clients?
I think the biggest thing is something that we all have in us, but sometimes we choose not to use it, and it's consistency. I think the biggest thing you need to do to wow a client is do what you actually say you're going to do, right? So many people have big dreams of how they're going to work with a client, and they share those with the client because then they get the sale. But then once the signature is on the dotted line, everything falls flat. And to your point, Leila, a big reason for that is that they're relying on their memory, and that creates human error, right? It creates an opportunity to feel like, because you're busy, I just talked to them. But if you look back, it's been a month, it's been 2 months, it's been 3 months. You told them you would do something and you didn't get it done, right? Or you said that you offer a white glove service, but literally you're slapping them with that white glove. You're not serving them or doing anything, right? And so I think the biggest thing is do what you say. So that's an easy one because that's something that's within your control. There's no third party that needs to do it. There's no consultant that you need to hire to do that. It's doing what you agree to. Who will do what by when? Track those things. So I think with the CRM, you're able to get in there, you're able to have all of the client's information, you're able to keep the notes of the communication you had with them, you're able to look at the last time you spoke, the next time you're supposed to speak, you're able to send out bulk emails to people or newsletters in a lot of those platforms. You're able to send out automations so that it doesn't require a human to do every step of the way. It allows you to set up those different points in which, hey, we should reach out to a client at 30 days to see how their experience has been so far and what do we need to tweak. We're able to reach out to those clients again at 90 days at the end of a full quarter and make sure the experience is still what we promised it would be. We're able to reach out to them at 6 months, halfway through a year, check their pulse, see how things are going, see if they have additional business to offer you, because chances are they do. And sometimes they aren't dropping those nuggets. They're waiting for you to seek that out. And then again at a year and saying, hey, you've been with us for a year now. One, maybe we should get some type of a review or a testimonial or something like that. But two, what could we improve? You know, it's okay to ask those questions. People are scared because sometimes they don't want to know, right? We fear that we're going to get negative feedback. But negative feedback is actually something that helps you evolve, change your processes, change the way that you're handling a client, maybe your communication, and allows you to do better. And people want to tell you both the good and the bad. The bad is not terrible. It's a way to move forward. It's an opportunity to grow. So stop looking at those things as a detriment and look at them as an opportunity. And all of that can be housed in a CRM that lets you know, what are my touch points? What are the things I've done? And no, we're not trying to annoy the client. What we're trying to do is remind them that we're here, we're professionals, and we're ready to serve them.
No, that's all great advice. And, you know, frankly, we see this with our clients where they haven't done a good job tracking. So, for example, I got a call from an advisor saying like, hey, there's this client, they're accusing me of stealing their money. They're not even a client. That's an easy one, because if they weren't a client, it's not a client complaint. So we kind of dug in and we found out that the client, they were actually a client. They had been a prospect. They had signed the account paperwork. At some point in the onboarding process, they never transferred the accounts over. And the advisor completely forgot about this person. So the contract with the RIA was signed, the account paperwork was signed, but the money was never moved over and no work was ever conducted. So this client, for 2 years, thought the money was with this RIA and it wasn't, because it had never moved. And then he could not go into the account, like he couldn't log in and see where the money was. It was just a zero balance. So that's where the accusation of theft and fraud came from. It was like, no, the money never moved. So he had to go back to his former firm, which is still his current firm, and realize, oh no, my money's still sitting there. It never actually moved. But what a lost opportunity for that advisor to have brought over this account that was worth millions of dollars and be able to support and help this client. And the ball got completely dropped because there weren't documented workflows. There was no, CRM or case management system or just any sort of system of follow-up where they documented, we're in this phase, we've gone through this step, here's the next person responsible for the next step in this process. And it potentially could have been a bigger problem, because there's some people, they don't wait to ask questions. They just immediately go to the regulator, or they immediately go and file a legal action claiming that you stole their funds. And it was just a matter of the money never moved over.
Think about that this is all human error. This is stuff that somebody relied on their own memory bank, thinking that something would make them like a red flag or a flare would go up into the sky and alert them that something was wrong. But they had nothing in a system to check and balance them. They had nothing. They didn't have process or, like to your point, a workflow. They didn't have the task list to be able to say, Who will do what by when? Whose turn is it to do something? What functionality do I need to have people do that is outside of me? Or what is mine that I need to do? Because when you start building those relationships with clients, chances are, unless you have one very lucrative client, which it would be a mistake, P.S. I'm going to whisper this. It would be a mistake to hang your hat on one client, because if something happens to that one client, your business is bust. Whether or not you have one client, or I was talking to an advisor that had a book of thousands of clients. You're telling me that you have a photographic memory, and a memory that's one that client number 4,999 needs this on this date. Yeah, right. And if you do, you're in the wrong business, because there are things that you could be doing for millions of dollars a day if you really have that aptitude. But I have yet to meet a person that doesn't forget anything. I've yet to meet a person that is timely in everything that they do when they put themselves on the onus of remembering, recalling, and doing. So use technology. Work smart, not hard. Keeping it in your memory bank is working hard, because as other things go in, other things go out. And how do you know that the pertinent things that you need to do to ensure that you don't get fined, you don't get sanctioned, you don't get publicly humiliated, you don't have future clients looking at your ADV and looking at your disclosures and saying, what's wrong with this person? They aren't good stewards of money. I shouldn't go with them. Instead, give yourself an opportunity to be successful. Put things into your technology that you're paying through the nose for, that chances are, statistically, you're only using 10% of the functionality that the software has, but you're paying for 100%. Start using it, utilize it, figure out what else it can do. And if it's the wrong software, dump it and find something better. But you need to focus on making sure you're delivering. And the only way you can do that is with checks and balances, having a workflow. Every client gets the same experience. It's predictable, it's reliable, it's consistent. There's nobody that's being discriminated against because it's consistent, it's reliable, it's something that's predictable for the client. But you can only do that if you develop systems and you have checks and balances in place using your technology to inform who needs to do the next step. And if you did that, the case study that you brought up, the scenario you brought up would be non-existent, because it would have been caught, it would have been done. It wouldn't have been a 2-year memory lapse.
No, I completely agree. And I think that's too, one of the things I tell advisors and RAs in general is that there's a ton of technology made for our space in terms of financial services, but it doesn't always make sense for a particular financial services business, right? And that's where I tell people, if you're using Wealthbox or Redtail or any one of these different systems to track client information, log notes, etc., sometimes it's actually beneficial to go outside of the tools that are made specifically for financial services and go to tools that are kind of industry agnostic, because maybe they're more beneficial, or they make more sense for your business model, or they're easier to use or have more features. So I think it's all about finding, to your point, the right tool. A lot of firms are afraid to move off their system because you got to keep an archive of that data. What's the cost of downloading that data? Is it going to be a hassle to get your team to acclimate to a new system? Yes, people are going to bitch and moan, but at the end of the day, there is a cost benefit analysis, and it's going to cost you more in missed opportunities to use a software that's not the best fit for your firm than to find one that is a good fit and use that moving forward. I think it's super important to make sure that you are doing your due diligence. You're trying out a bunch of tools. Don't just use tools specifically made for financial services. Look at other tools out there and vet them out. The other thing too is I love automations. So if there is a tool that allows you to build out automation, for example, if you send out the DocuSign for client agreement and the custodial documents to open an account, and that gets signed and sent back. Setting up an automation that immediately sends an email. Thank you, we received your signed documents. Someone will be in touch with you in the next 24 hours, or click here to schedule a consultation. And then it sets up a task to go to an admin or client services person to follow up with that person. I love automations. You set up one time the process and it automatically goes through that process. And again, reduces the kind of manual labor of having to send those things out manually, but also make sure your now client is being well informed about what's going on. I love automations at the prospect part of the onboarding. I love it once they're a client and we're going through onboarding. I also love automations for things like when you're doing your annual reviews or you have calls with clients, having a workflow that you can add that has multiple steps, right? It's not rocket science. You probably know you need to add your notes into the CRM. You probably know you need to send a email follow-up to the client, memorializing the conversation that you had, identifying kind of what they're supposed to do by when, what are you supposed to do by when. You probably know those are things you have to do. But if you have, 15 calls in a day, you've done 25 client reviews in a week, that's a lot to keep up with. And it's easy to miss even the basic steps. So having those workflows that automatically trigger, automatically have due dates associated with them, automatically have set up with reminders, I think that's a good way to kind of wow your clients, because then they feel like you're staying in communication with them, you're keeping them informed, you're following up, you're being transparent.
I think that's excellent advice. The thing to remember too is as you're creating like the pre-engagement glide path, the glide path to the journey to clienthood, right? Trying to get those folks as your clients when they come in as potential new clients or PNCs, their leads. How do we convert them over? Well, part of it is creating a glide path and making sure that each step of the way you have the things that are allowing you to know where the PNC is in the process, and also allowing you to give them information that keeps them informed. There are things you could do. You could create a welcome video. You could send out any documentation. If you're meeting with the client, let's say you're setting up the initial appointment, making sure that they have logistical information, that scores brownie points right there. If your location is one that's hard to find, if the door's hard to find, if the parking is terrible, whatever it is, give them the clues to have a good experience. Tell them who to speak to when they show up. Tell them what the address is. Give them any of those tips and tricks. Park around the side of the building. Come in the back door. You'll actually have better parking access. Let them know that, hey, it's a quick turn off of Main Street or whatever, if it's like people miss the driveway and have to do constant circling back. Make sure you have all of that stuff noted so that you're giving them easy access. You don't want to create barriers to entry. You don't want to create barriers to success. So do as much as you can to let them know that even before they're a client, you're taking care of them. And then, as you're going through, if you're sending them materials, make sure they're updated. Make sure that it's not old stuff. Make sure that it's interesting, and also make sure you're using plain language. Coming from two attorneys, we know that legalese can throw people into a tailspin. They assume what it means, they don't always know, or they quit reading and they miss the pertinent parts that they need to know. Sadly, most people today read at between a 5th and a 7th grade education. So when we're writing something from a lawyer perspective, if it's a legal document, that's one thing. If it's for the general public and it's like a sales thing or it's a client communication, we're making sure that we're not writing it in that voice. We're still writing it in a professional voice, certainly, but we're not writing it using legalese and using words that somebody needs to get out a dictionary to figure out what the hell we're saying. Make sure that you're writing in plain language. Write for your audience, not for you. You don't need to prove how smart you are. They want to know that you're going to be there for them, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and they're going to make money. Then as they're going through their experience with you, I've already talked about touch points and different things like that, but creating the workflows to ensure that nothing's missed, creating the task list to ensure that nothing's missed, making sure you're following up if the client needs to give you something so that you don't create risk because you didn't follow up and said, well, that's on them. Right? And document everything. Document all communications. Document anything that you're sending out. Document everything. I know we've talked about books and records and different things like that, but the truth is if it's not documented, it didn't happen. Right? You have no proof it happened. So it's your word against their word, and then you're working with regulators, right? So make sure you're doing the right things. And then even after they're a client, let's say they've either, passed away or they're going to move on, it's okay to have a post-engagement glide path as well to say, how do we follow up? What did we do well? What could we do better? What was their overall experience? Do kind of analysis yourself of, where did we go right? Where did we go wrong? How can we make changes to ensure that if something happened that we didn't want to happen, doesn't happen again? Or if it was all roses and butterflies and rainbows, that we keep doing those things to ensure that all clients have a good experience. So you have lots of opportunities along the way to let the client know how much you give a shit. And that's really what you're doing. You are giving a shit about your clients. And if they feel it, they're more apt to do business with you. And it makes it much harder for them to leave you for somebody else that is shooting rainbows and butterflies and sunshine from their rectum. Well, every salesperson is going to wow you and do more than the last guy or girl did. They're going to say that they can bend over backwards and at the same time roll out the red carpet. They're going to say everything they need to try to take the business. But if you've done your job on the front end, it's pretty hard for that to happen on the back end.
No, and you're absolutely right. So I've done a ton of advertising review in my time, and if your clientele are sophisticated, they're highly educated, they're very technical investors, it might make sense to send them information talking about alpha and beta and standard deviations and the delta and all that fun stuff. But a lot of advisors are dealing with just normal, regular, everyday people as clients. Sending them that content, that's the best way for them to just eyes gloss over, completely stop reading. So to your point, if you're going to deliver additional value in the way of newsletters or blog articles, making sure they make sense. It's not about you, it's about how you make them feel, right? They have to know you, they have to like you, they have to trust you. So be yourself, lean into who you are, whatever makes you quirky and weird, lean into it, because that lets people feel like they see the real you, that you are a human being and you're being a human being with them. And then, tailoring that content, the stuff they worry about, which depending on your clientele, it might be the cost of groceries, right? Am I going to be able to continue to pay for the increasing cost of groceries? I'm retired. I was a teacher for 50 years. I am living off of Social Security and my retirement. The market volatility and the value of my account dropping over 10% is a huge impact. Do I really need to be invested in the market? Should I just be in cash for now so I can make sure I have what I need to live? Right? Having those conversations, addressing the concerns your clients have, that's going to be important, right? That's what it means to be a fiduciary and putting the interest of your client ahead of yours. So that teacher that's been a retired teacher who's been a teacher for 50 years, who's living off of Social Security in her retirement, it's not about your advisory fee. It's about telling them, you don't need to be in the market right now. You don't need to be invested. You don't have the tolerance for it in terms of risk. You are really concerned about whether or not you're going to have enough to live off of. What if we just got out for a little while? Come back to us when things have changed, they've gotten a little bit more stable, and we can talk about getting back into the market, or maybe just invest in something a lot more conservative. So I think it's having those real conversations. And to your point, Tracie, don't make it about you. Make it about them. Learn what their concerns are. Learn about what keeps them up at night. Learn what is giving them heartburn or indigestion and address those issues.
And that's something to think about as well. There are a couple of points I think to make here. One, the last thing you just talked about is important. You could even reach out to clients and ask them, like, think of your top 5 clients that are just amazing, that if you had all of your clients be like that avatar, you would be thrilled. Call those top 5. Ask them, what made you decide to go with me? What did you try before? Why did you not stay there? What are the things that are making you wake up in the middle of the night, that are giving you indigestion? What are the things that scared you most? What are the things that reassured you most? Because when you know that, you can start to change your approach and make sure that you're meeting people where they are and you're actually getting the clients that you want instead of just let me take whatever comes my way. I think another point that we should make is on referral business. That when you have a client or a business connection that cares enough about you and thinks that you are good enough at what you do, that they're willing to put their own reputation on the line to someone that knows them, that likes them, that trusts them, and they're going to say, you should go see advisor X, they're amazing. And then if you drop the ball, you've not only possibly ruin the opportunity you had before you, because those are always the easiest sales to close, right? Because somebody that they know, like, and trusted said that you are worthy of the same. And you may sully the relationship you had with either that business connection or that current client that you had, or even a former client. So you want to make sure that with those referrals that you're treating those like the gold that they are. That doesn't mean that you put them on a pedestal and every other client is under your shoe. What it means is you develop that consistent, reliable service and you let them feel that they are somebody that you want to do business with. You should also reach out to that referral source, that client, and let them know that John Doe ended up reaching out and I appreciate you doing so, or your referrals are landing and I appreciate you doing that, and we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that they're well taken care of, because that will increase the opportunity for them to continue to send you more business. If you don't do it the correct way, you're going to lose out. So making sure that you're tracking and having all those things in place, making sure that you have workflows and glide paths, and then also making sure that you are documenting and you're tasking things out so nothing falls through the cracks. Those are going to be really important things for you moving forward to ensure that you're setting yourself up for success and future opportunity.
Yeah, one thing I would add is, for your referrals, remember, if you're an SEC registered firm, under the marketing rule, there is a de minimis exemption of $1,000 in a 12-month period. So you can provide your clients, Starbucks cards, Amazon gift cards. They can be $10, $25, $50. Of course, you want to keep track of it, but you have up to $1,000 that you can pay these clients for these referrals, and that's the de minimis exemption, so they wouldn't have to be officially a promoter of your firm. So there are little things like that you can do that just sweeten the deal. I mean, who wouldn't appreciate even a $10 Amazon card? I can think of a billion things we order from Amazon every month that I could go use an Amazon gift card to offset the cost of, right? Like, it's a nice little, thank you, I really appreciate it. Here's a small token of our appreciation. Having those little things in place. I know this also comes up when I'm talking about marketing, to your point about getting testimonials and asking questions. Do I have to document that? What if the feedback's bad? It's okay if you're just having conversations. It's okay if the feedback is bad. You don't have to advertise it. I mean, I think that's where the marketing rule comes in, is when you start using the feedback, those testimonials, those endorsements, those case studies, to go out publicly and say, hey, look at our firm. It's fantastic. Look at what these people are saying about us. But getting feedback from clients, identifying things that you can improve upon and things that you're doing really well, there's nothing wrong with getting that information and keeping it in your firm and not going public with that information. It doesn't fall under the marketing rule at that point because it's not advertising. I know a lot of firms are just afraid, what if a bunch of people say a bunch of crap about our firm? Wouldn't you want to know so you can fix it, so you can address it? Get your feedback forms. Send out an email, set up time with your clients. If someone's upset, find out why. Find out what they need to be happy, what you could have done better. Sometimes you can do things and it is on you. Sometimes you get people that are never going to be happy. But that's an opportunity too to say, you know what, we're just not the right fit. It reduces your risk, it reduces your liability by getting rid of clients that are just not a good fit for your business. But you don't know who's a good fit if you don't know who your ideal client is. And you don't know who your ideal client is if you're trying to be everything to everybody. So I think the most important thing is not just having the CRM, but start with, who am I? Who is my firm? Who are we serving? There's a reason why they say there's riches in the niches. You cannot be everything to everybody. So pick who you want to be for and hone in on it.
That's absolutely the right advice. I think the other thing is making sure, and we've already said this a couple of times, but that you're always marketing to the people and not yourself. It's not what you think, it's what they think, what they need, what they want. You know, I've seen websites where every picture on there is something that doesn't correlate to what's actually happening. The verbiage, I saw websites where people do things honoring somebody that passed away that was big in the firm. I understand those things, but having that be your home screen might not attract as many people as you could. Making sure that the pictures, even now, we even do this in law. In law, if you're, let's say, a personal injury attorney or a workers' comp attorney or something, you don't want the picture of the big steel beam falling on the person and they're injured, which is what I've seen. You want the result that they're happy, that they're made whole. Same thing with any other business that's out there. What are the results you're trying to achieve? The happy clients that you're trying to achieve? What verbiage can you put on there, and what tone can you write in? And at what reading level should you be writing to ensure that you're capturing the right audience? So know who you are, know who your ideal clients are, know how to market to those ideal clients, and then treat them right when they come in the door. Do what you promise. Otherwise, you've already shot yourself in the foot. And anything else that happens, it's kind of like a bad marriage. Pretty soon, their breathing annoys you, right? Like, you're breathing too loud. I can hear you. You're interrupting my program. You know, whatever it is, because they've built up enough of a track record that they don't do what they say they're going to do. So do right by your clients and they'll do right by you.
I have a feeling, Tracie, that there might be a lot of people who are listening that are like, this is a lot of great advice. I don't know where to start or how to put all this together or figure all of this out. So I'm here to kind of share a secret. And that is, I use ChatGPT to help me. So if you are feeling overwhelmed right now, go open up ChatGPT. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. So this is what I input into ChatGPT. I said, you are an interviewer. Interview me one question at a time like an interviewer would. Ask me about my business until you have enough information to summarize my ideal client in detail, far beyond what I have shared in my answers. That's the prompt. And ChatGPT went in and started asking me questions like, what's the name of your business? Can you tell me a little bit about what your business does? Can you give me an idea of your target market? Are there specific types of clients you specialize in serving? Right? And it asked me all the questions that I need. Is there anything else you would like to add to your ideal client profile? And it output kind of the ideal client. And I said, okay, so now that you've understood who my ideal client is, generate a profile of my ideal client. And it created a summary of my ideal client. And then I put in a prompt. I said, you are a personality analyzer, a master of perception and insight. Please tell me what else you might infer about my ideal client that we have not yet discussed. So ChatGPT then said, based on the information provided, I can make some inferences about your ideal client. And they proceeded to tell me, they being ChatGPT, about my ideal client's careers, their personality, their work ethic, their confidence level, their business processes. It told me about the car they drive, their favorite food, the types of places they visit, the type of devices they use. Like, it gave me really specific information. So, then I went through and asked more questions. Tell me about like what my ideal client would need from me. What are they looking for? What are the services they want? What is the type of experience they want? How do they decide who to pick to fix their problem? And I just went through these questions. What are likely their deeply held fears and desires? Make a list of the most common favorite things that people ask for, and then guess what their pick would be for number one for each category. So food, color, music, movie, book, sport, so on and so forth. I mean, we got in deep. We got in deep. And then I started asking questions, in what ways is my law firm a better fit than the law firms that they may otherwise go for? What do they lack confidence in? And I just kept asking more and more questions to understand my ideal client, and you can do the same. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed, my recommendation is we have this amazing technology. We have AI, use it. You're not using it for client output. You're not using it for portfolio management. You're using it to help you operationally. And frankly, we were talking about earlier workflows. You can go into ChatGPT and say, I'm an RIA, I use Redtail, I need to create pre-engagement glide paths and workflows so I can create an excellent client experience. Ask me the questions you need one by one in order to tell me or create a workflow for my ideal client. And it'll do it.
I know, those are all great points. It's a way to work smart and not hard, which is the name of the game. That's how you get ROI, right? You have to be able to get the things that you need as efficiently and as effectively as possible. Now, remember, you're not putting client names in there. And for those of you that want to use it more in depth, actually getting into a business chat GPT so that it's a closed site would be important as well. Making sure you're doing all of those things will lead to better success down the road for you. We've talked about technology. We've talked about doing what we say we're going to do, doing task lists, workflows, template things, using chat GPT. Another thing is just using common sense. I can tell you, long before I was an attorney, long before I was a business owner, long before I was a business consultant, any of those types of things, I was a banker. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I did in banking that made me super successful is I listened. When a client would say to me, oh my gosh, we would be talking about something innocuous about our children, and they said, oh my gosh, I have a daughter turning 16 in 6 months. Just wait. I'll notify you when it happens so you can stay off the road. And it was tongue in cheek. But when they left, what I did is I put into my system a reminder to link back up with them before that 6-month period to talk to them about car loans, to talk to them about their child moving on to college, to talk to them about whatever it is that they told me about that was something innocuous. And you wouldn't believe the amount of repeat business I got, the amount of thank yous. Even if it wasn't a repeat business, it was like, I can't believe you remembered that Sarah was turning 16 next month. Those things are what connected me so deeply with clients that I'd have to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't take your gift because it was too expensive, and something that was against our internal policy, but that I can appreciate the fact that you'll continue to do business. I also used a phrase that was, I think, really important for me. When people would glad hand me and high five me and do all of the proverbial things to make me feel good about the way I was transacting with them, I would say, I appreciate that you're letting me know we did a great job for you. But if you really feel that way, the best thing you can do is allow me to help other people you know. Who do you know that I should know? Who should I reach out to? Would you do an introduction for me? Because I'd like to help as many people as I can. And if they're as great as you are, I want to do business with them too. And I would do those types of things so that I could not only get additional business, but to let the client know how much I valued them. And they were quick to send me people that they thought I could help, because that's really what we're all trying to do. Yes, we're making money. Yes, we're doing all these things. But in the end, we're trying to help people have a good life after they retire. So let's get on the right path. For those of you that need additional help, whether it's compliance help or whether it's help just figuring out how to move forward, we have Compliance University, we have CCO on Call, and we have subscription matters that we can create for you to help you be your one-stop shop for everything compliance and legal. Check us out on www.myralawyer.com and you'll be amazed at what you find. We look forward to speaking with you and working with many of you now and in the future. If all else fails, get on our newsletter. You'll be with 50 to 60,000 other people that are enjoying it and giving us a lot of great feedback. Anything that we can do to help this industry become the best it can be is what our goal is. We want to change the way that people look at our industry. So tune in next time for another great edition of Regulate This, and check us out on www.myralawyer.com. Wherever you are, we're there.